ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्तः राधाकान्तः नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवसादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Let's continue hearing the lecture of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, by Dula Sri Maharaj. Share screen.
Anna, please describe in full detail how and where the mind has to be applied, and how the conception can be fixed so that the dirty things in a person's mind can be removed. Hit the pause button. Well, let's explore this a little bit. You just gave this quick explanation. I'd like to hear some more. In the purport, Prabhupada is explaining, this is the symptom of a great soul. Maharaj Parikshit, even before he was born and throughout his life, he was already fixed in that conception. He's not asking for himself. He's asking for those who are his citizens who need that understanding. So he wants, there's all these sages, and the message is going to be further broadcast after Shukadev Goswami speaks. People will be, hey, do you know what they said? And repeating the message. So he wants for the benefit of others, which is very remarkable particularly in this way. He's the one that's about to die. But he's not thinking, hey, numero uno. He's thinking, my citizens are numero uno. They're what's important to me. So he wants to have Shukadev expand this understanding of meditating on this pantheistic feature of the Lord, or the Sanskrit is Virat Rupa. Rupa means form, and Virat means where we are, this material creation. The form of God within nature. God is above nature. He's the controller of nature. He's not nature. But it's, so there's some very nice language here that I'd like to read. It explains what the pantheistic conception is and how it works. Pantheism, in its higher status, does not permit the student to form an impersonal conception of the absolute truth, but it extends the conception of the absolute truth into the field of the so-called material energy. Everything created by the material energy can be dovetailed with the absolute by an attitude of service. which is the essential part of the living energy. The soul's constitutional position is service. But if the conception of God has somehow been blocked, the somehow is when it's this bad attitude towards God. Raga, dvesha, samutena, devandava, mohena, bharata. If one has a dvesha, means just like this is ignorance. If I'm feeling hatred, it's a symptom of ignorance. And icha, it's a symptom of passion. Icha, dvesha, samutena, or raga, dvesha, samutena. Devandava, mohena, bharata. The duality of delusion, when passion and ignorance take hold. I want to enjoy. And there's a problem, because there's always somebody that's enjoying, and that's God. But I want... Why always Him? At least sometimes me. Equal rights, right? Democracy. So, there's a problem for my being in that position of enjoyer, and that somebody else is already there. So there's dvesha. He should be deposed. Sometimes I should sit on the big seat, and he can sit with everybody else. We'll take turns. When his tenure is over, I'm ready. So it's passion and ignorance. And as I was just mentioning, those tendencies of those modes enter in even when we're practicing devotional service. We're practicing our chanting, or we're trying to serve the Supreme Lord and serve the devotees of the Lord and carry out the mission of God's service in this world. We become attached to being the enjoyers. I had on the flight from Boston to Chicago, I was very surprised. So was the other person. There was the co-passenger on the plane. One of the Harvard Divinity School students was on the same flight. His destination was Seattle. It was American Airlines, and he had to stop over in Chicago. And we were just in our check-in procedures going through the x-ray machines. He was right in front of me, turned around and said, "Oh, how nice to see you," because we only met the first time. And when we got on the other side of the security, with conversation, he said, "Which gate?" He said, "34A." I said, "I'm 34A too. Where are you going?" I said, "Chicago." He said, "I'm going to Seattle." Maybe they made a mistake, but it was a stopover. So he then, this conversation ensued that was really very meaningful for him. He said, "I'm partying." Even as they were telling us, fasten your seatbelts, he's right next to me pursuing this question. The question is, the religious organization that I'm part of, I've been with them for a couple of years in Seattle, and they have this very strong criteria for measuring success. And so he asked, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a personal question. When you consider your travels and so forth, do you have this strong criteria in deciding where you'll go and as in terms of success? So I said, not really. I said, honestly, our organization needs more accountability. And measures of performance is some standard of accountability. So we're considering that. I said our organization is considering, starting with our leaders and on down, measures of accountability. And for our spiritual master, it was something that he certainly considered. He was very enlivened to hear how many books were distributed. When we had festivals, how many plates of prasadam we distributed at Rath Yatra and different functions. And so, but it's something that we monitor. It's not something that we're pursuing. I said, just like, for example, that the Harvard Divinity School function that I attended, if I had to make a measure of was it worth it for me to go across the Charles River and attend the Harvard Divinity School function, and I had to evaluate, I would say there are two things that came from that. And, but that wasn't the reason. I didn't go to Boston. I didn't even know I was going to be at that function when I made my schedule. I was just there to serve the devotees. Whatever they wanted me to do. That's what I went there for. That's the measure of success. That there's something that they wanted. They had some needs and some concerns, and I tried to meet them. That's my success. And it was so. I'm off topic, but just sharing what the experience was. It said that in the course of that, the persons that I met Francis Clooney, who is a tenured professor, and his training is he's a Jesuit priest. So in the course of my discussion with Francis Clooney, I shared with him the fact that the Russian Orthodox Church Archbishop has just written a letter to the mayor of Moscow, 3.5-page letter, blaspheming Krishna and the worship of Krishna and the chanting of Krishna's name, defiling what prasadam is, the sacrilegious stuff that those people give to. They have a very, very vigorous Food for Life program in Moscow. And it's with some hardship they do it. Ranjan Raj told me that sometimes for their temples it's a question of, do the devotees eat pasta or do they give it to the people that they have there? And it's not pasta with butter on it, it's just pasta. And they make such decisions. It's not, they don't have wealth. So I said that some years ago, I was hoping that I would meet here at this function Harvey Cox, because some years ago, when I was at our center in New York City, some of our devotees were visiting with their family, and their parents arranged for them to be kidnapped by deprogrammers. In one case, Murti Vandya, Mary Lee Kreschauer, she was like a 25-year-old young woman who had become a devotee, and her mother hired some thugs to, as she was walking with her daughter on the sidewalk, prearranged, the van came up and 3 big guys came up and scooped her around the waist and stuffed her in the back of the van and zoomed away. It took her to some remote place in upstate New York to deprogram her, to convince her that she should give up this bizarre cult. And she outlasted them. In the middle of the night, when they were asleep, she escaped. And she came back to the temple, and she told the temple president the whole story, what had happened. We had sent police reports out, this person's been kidnapped, and then she came to our temple. So we said, you go report it to the police, you've been kidnapped. She took it to the police took it to the district attorney. The district attorney turned around and filed charges against the Hare Krishna movement for kidnapping the girl by brainwashing her. So it was a brainwashing case, kidnap by brainwashing. And Prabhupada was both furious and vigorously anticipating the opportunity in the courtroom to establish who's crazy, who are the kidnappers, who are the irresponsible persons in this world. So I informed Francis Clooney that Harvey Cox, a divinity professor of a Christian background, he wrote a letter to the New York Times saying what an atrocious act the district attorney had done, and all of his reasons why he was saying that. Although I'm a Christian minister, scholar, to think like this about these traditional practices is just abominable. and et cetera, et cetera. And within 48 hours, the the judge dismissed the case. And, the written declaration, the Hare Krishna movement is a bona fide religious organization with roots that go back in India 5,000 years, and all these practices are traditional practices that anyone who thinks of them otherwise is misinformed and bigoted, and so forth and so on and so on. Dismissed. So I said to Francis Clooney that perhaps if the mayor of Moscow was to receive something with Harvard Divinity School letterhead saying way over on the other side of the ocean, this, what you're doing, they're wanting to take, they're not wanting, they're taking the property that they gave the devotees to reside away, and they already smashed the building. Now the devotees are just in the middle of the Moscow winter, squatting on the land. They have an eviction notice by January 7th. Niranjan Raj just wrote to me about it. And the devotees are planning to not move, which means they're going to be arrested. So I said, maybe you can write a letter to the mayor of Moscow. Maybe some of your other scholar friends in Oxford can also do something. He said, very well. You send me the information. Because his little speech was, when we're passing by Harvard Square and we see the man there with the metal cup and a few coins rattling in the cup, maybe we don't consider it somebody else's task, but in the Christian mode of helping others, you extend a helping hand. He said, here's some people, they've got a metal cup. And it's not Harvard Square, it's in Moscow. It's cold there. And their place of residence and their place of worship has just been smashed. So there are government people from India that are going to try to attend to this, but maybe from academia some helping hand can be extended. Because it worked very effectively in New York. Of course, Moscow is a different place. Different set of parameters. So I said to this young man, there's one thing that, I didn't have an advanced plan, but Krishna sent me to this place, and there was this other, your professor in your divinity school. And so he's written to me since then. He's going to prepare a letter. He's at his Christmas holiday, but as soon as he gets back, knowing this January 7th deadline, he's going to work on it. And I said, and the second thing was, being a panelist with this august assembly of personalities, they had an opportunity, because I made a point when I was speaking to say that I had first joined the Hare Krishna movement in Boston. And I was one of those people that probably all of you sitting here have seen at South Station subway stop and chanting Hare Krishna in 1970. And they chuckled nervously. And I described to them what that experience was like for me and so forth. So rather going to the whole thing. I think that now those people that may have had a different idea now have, here's a young man, or not such a young man anymore, but, someone that they didn't understand before, and here's rubbing shoulders with them. So I think that there's been some value in my visit to the Harvard Divinity School. But, so we want to monitor what's the outcomes of what we do, the service that we do, but the main thing that we're interested in is staying fixed in the conception that Krishna should be pleased. That's the internal contemplation, is whatever it is that I say and do and think, my thoughts, words, and actions should be pleasing to the Supreme. That's the consideration that's really important. We'll monitor those measures of success, as you call it, or achievement. And I said, this is a very basic idea of Bhagavad Gita. The first third of Bhagavad Gita is emphasizing the importance of performing duty because it will purify you and elevate your consciousness, not just you get some result from it. And he was going, which chapter of Bhagavad Gita? I said, I'll write to you and guide you and how you can. So, if we see ourselves as instruments in service to God, then so many opportunities for service will come. So many opportunities will come. So our measure for success is that we're always in the consciousness that we're instruments of God's service. The results department is Krishna's department, and service is our department. We just serve in the right consciousness, and Krishna will do whatever he wants to do with our service. And that consciousness is different than worldly consciousness. And so here is outlining some methods Shukadeva Goswami is recommending to come to that consciousness, or Krishna consciousness. Okay.
I'll pause here, just so that we can discuss maybe a few of the questions from the past few days, and also anything from today. Any thoughts or comments by the devotees on what we heard today?
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Kumarika here.
Yes, please go ahead.
We have got our own ideas of success, what we mean by success. But Guru Maharaj said just now, I see it is, if I'm of service to somebody, that is my success. So the very goal of his life is service to people. So that is what touched me. And day in and day out, he has been going on doing it. Also selflessly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sharpari Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare
The
Krishna.
sentence, yes Prabhu, the sentence that our thoughts, words and actions should be pleasing to Krishna. That statement was a very deep meaning sentence. And that's the essence of this Krishna consciousness. That is what I like the most, Prabhu. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Wonderfully. Thank you so much, Mataji. Anybody else would like to add something more? Maybe we should ask some devotees who have not been speaking. Hema Sundari Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu,
Yes.
like what Sharbari Mataji said, that was the most touching sentence for me. Maharaj was saying, whatever we do, it should be pleasing to Krishna. And I was thinking, how do we really do this? Because when we say we have to please Krishna, maybe that is there in my thought for some time of the day. After that, it is gone. Or maybe a minute, or maybe when I'm just hearing, okay, I should do everything to please Krishna. But after that, it becomes so mechanical, and we become so engrossed in our, our routine. So we just do what we are doing, or rather, I should talk about myself. I just start doing whatever I'm doing. And then end of the day, if I think, did it please Krishna, then it's like, not sure what I did and what it was. So when Maharaj was speaking, that is what was going through my mind. Am I really doing this, or how should I do this? That is what I was thinking.
Okay. Any thoughts on Hema Sundari Mataji's question by devotees here? If you would like to say or to give details on how do we catch ourselves in doing pleasing Krishna throughout the day, because the day has so many minutes, so many seconds, and it's tough to keep track of it. Or how do we be, how can we be successful in it?
Again, from Maharaj, what I have heard is that uh, to be mindful, not only during chanting, to be mindful in doing whenever we are doing the devotional service or other service, to be mindful. And I have seen this habit in him when we have that very rare meetings with him. That 15 minutes or 10 minutes, he might be giving us just 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But he's totally 100% present with you at that time. Not that his mind is somewhere and he is talking to us. So I can feel that total concentration and understanding of our body language, our problems, whatever it is, and giving us that exactly that whatever time he's giving us in full. So that sort of being mindful, he has advised in several places. I think that is the one of the techniques. I think to be, then we will not be, as Mataji phrased it, mindlessly or sometimes out of habit. We are doing so many things. We are not mindful.
Thank you. Thank you, Marika Mataji. Anybody else would like to add more, please?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandavat Pranam. But
Yes.
I have the another aspect of it. Shouldn't we shouldn't our target be so much to be involved in the thought of Krishna's or thought of his activities or something that spontaneously or normally we are in that flow. We don't have to put effort on that. That okay, I am doing it for Krishna, but it has become a habit that this thing is for Krishna. So I don't need to forcefully remind that this I'm doing for Krishna. It is for Krishna. It's obvious. Or
Absolutely.
that is the next stage probably. Okay.
Yes, you got it right. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Just to add, to elaborate what you said, let me probably will share my screen. I want to say something there. I'll show my screen. You're able to see my screen, I guess, right?
Yes, Prabhu. It is saying you have started screen sharing.
Okay. So I'll elaborate here. But you see something, I just looked online and just got something here. You see something called as habit tracker. It's called the habit tracker circle. You're seeing that on my screen?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. It's you can do it as a circle, you can do it as a straight line, that's a different thing. But the point is a little different. Creating habits is very tough. And we need reminders sometimes. We do some habits. Like, and that's where sometimes we'll have to track ourselves. Am I doing it right? So therefore, we start with a few habits of, am I doing it for Krishna? Why? I mean, or so how do we do it? We start with the most simple thing. Do we wake up in the morning? As soon as we wake up in the morning, do we first pray to the Guru and to Krishna that may I use this day for you? That's as soon as we wake up. Then we have the morning prayers, every morning chanting, every morning hearing. Did I do it for you? So you can just in there are multiple lines here. It says somebody has written like say vitamins, exercise, two cat 30 minutes, eight whatever cups of water. Like that they have written in this image that I'm just showcasing now. You can have different simple stuff here, like the parts of what Srila Prabhupada gave us a generic um, sadhana. So the thing that needs to be considered is, as part of this sadhana, am I first and foremost, we should be at the stage, am I doing that sadhana itself? And just a minute. So we have this habit tracker just for the sadhana. The next thing we can do, the next level we can do here is habit tracker to see the quality of the sadhana. During the sadhana, did I try to please Krishna? And the next third thing here is, as exactly as what Shweta Mataji was saying, unless and until we have projects to do for Krishna on a daily basis, for each individual it has to be a little different. Unless and until we have those projects for Krishna, we will not depend on Krishna. Very advanced devotees can say, "Hey, I am going to the workplace and I'm doing it for Krishna." For most people who are not that advanced, they will just see it as, I need to make money. And with the money that I make, I can keep my body and soul together. And possibly, I can use the results of that for Krishna. I've sponsored something for people in this world to progress in devotional service. It's the results that comes, but not the activity. It's a good starting point, but not the best goal. And that's why, in consultation with others, we need to take up some projects for Krishna. But one thing that has been known here is any habit which doesn't have an accountability to another person ultimately fails. Because we human beings are not good at uh, being self accountable. Most of us. There are very few of us who are too good at it. But if you don't share with somebody saying, "Hey, I'm doing it. I just want to tell you this, and I plan to commit this," or sometimes it's better to say, "Hey, this is a project I want to do for you." Or if we don't ask ourselves, it's better to be in the company of some devotees who would say, "Can you do this project for me?" Uh, and that time we should use this as an opportunity to say, "This is an opportunity for me to depend and think about Krishna." So taking up projects given by devotees or we ourselves coming up with a project, but involving others and saying, "Let's do this together. Can you help me in this project?" And we take people together in the project, not just for the sense of accomplishment, but because I want to be in a relationship with Krishna. When we do that, when we share the progress, saying, "I did so much. Uh, the goal was 100. I did one today. I did five today. I did 10 today. Today we are at 30." In that sense, let me give an example. Say, for example, we have a project that, maybe I have to come up with a content for uh, a class that has to be given to somebody once every Sunday. Like he was with your husband. I'm just taking for an example. He has to give a class for the right persons from the scriptures, say 3 Sundays over the 4 Sundays. Uh, Something that can be the steps that can be done good here are everyday thinking for this class, what are the kind of people who are coming? What do they need? And therefore, these are, and based on what they need, how do I go to the scriptures? So he sets aside 1 hour of time to do it every day, different points to be taken from the scripture. Next, he says, for me to be effective here, I need 500 devotees who would speak to them. I cannot just be on my own there. I need to probably cook a good feast for people to come and enjoy. Taste Krishna Prasadam. So he asks you to go and buy some things. He asks you to organize some things there. So your mind is on not my husband has to be pleased, not 10 people have to come to the program. I had 10 people last time, I have 20 people this time. No, Krishna wants to work his magic in the hearts of 10 people. Make it happen. And in that, some challenges are going to come. That's number two. And number three is, I'm doing all this, but am I on the right path? So maybe you may go and ask somebody that this is my thought of doing it. Anything I'm missing? And the more the challenges you take, Krishna will make you depend more. So uh, that kind of projects are very, very important. Without projects, one cannot go forward. And the culmination of these projects is at a particular point in time, we don't need some external projects. We get a tasting chanting, and that with that tasting chanting, every day, throughout the day, we can continue to chant. That's the next level which it comes to. Hopefully, by the end of this lifetime, we should come to that stage. And until we come to that stage, we have to take project of Krishna. Does that help, Mataji? Or I was too off track?
It does help, Prabhu. In last 3 days, I think I kind of felt whatever you speak was Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, please tell me.
No. I was just saying that last 3 days, whatever you spoke was very much related to me. I think I have to go through it once again and make some notes.
That's it. I think it's already 7:06. I still don't. I have some thoughts on the questions, but I don't think we have time today for questions. Probably we'll try that tomorrow. We'll just pause the hearing the lecture, but we'll devote our entire 20-minute session for the 4 questions. I will write a list of questions again in the group, and I request everybody else also to think through the questions and come and discuss the questions in light of what we already heard the past few days. Okay. With this, we'll end our discussion here. Thank you very much. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you,
Prabhu.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thanks.
Hare Krishna.